On a worsening trend in the arid and semi-arid counties in Kenya, attributed mainly to the poor performance of the October, November, December 2020 short rains and the March, April, May 2021 long rains. Both seasons were characterized by late onsets, below average cumulative quantities and poor distribution, both in time and space. This has resulted in worsening drought conditions manifested in poor vegetation conditions, increased distances to water sites in 78% of SL counties, worsening livestock body conditions and reduced milk production in 9% and 61% SL counties respectively. Now, according to the National Drought Management Authority, the bulletin for July 2021, 12 counties have been affected. Now, the question is, how serious is the situation? Food insecurity situation is also projected to persist till December 2021. Joining me to assess this is Nelson Mutanda, who is the Deputy Director Drought Information at the National Drought Management Authority, NDMA. This is Counties in Focus. My name is Brian Amoy. Thank you so much, Nelson, for making time for us for this show. Let's get started. 12 counties are facing drought, staring at starvation literally. How did we get here?
Thank you very much, Brian. Actually, I would say that, yes, the 12 counties are affected, but we are not staring starvation. We are just,
are we not?
We are just on alert, at alert phase.
Okay.
Of course, a number of counties, based on IPC classification, they are in phase 3,
okay.
That is crisis. But looking at how the indicators are pointing, we are still at alert. But more important to note that we have had 2 failed seasons. Okay. That's the short rains, October, November, December, and the long rains, that's March, April, May. Okay. You can imagine having 2 seasons that have failed, then it means there's that impact actually to the livelihoods. Okay. And I want to say that, yes, also looking at the forecast for the next season, it's not good according to Kenya Meteorological Department. Okay. We are looking up to, we are expecting maybe we might have La Nina. So, yes, the situation is not very good.
It's not very good.
But we are prepared.
Now, when you say that we are at alert phase, then how many phases does a drought cycle have, so that we understand what is this alert phase, and do we get to the final phase, which is, I think, probably recovery or something? Yeah,
sure. Thank you very much. Actually, we can talk of up to 5 phases. Okay. In most cases, we start with the normal phase. This is when the situation is very good, the rains have performed well, and our indicators are within the seasonal ranges. And then, of course, we come at alert phase, where we are looking at the environment, the stability in the environment. This is where we look at rainfall. We also look at its impact on other indicators, like the vegetation. So once they are out of the seasonal norm, that is the environmental indicators, then we say we are on alert, because it means we are expecting rains. Okay. It has not come, or it's not up to expectation. So there's already some direction pointing that the impact on the ground is likely to be felt. Okay. So we are already at alert. Then we can move to alarm phase of drought. Alarm phase of drought, this is where now there's that impact on the livelihoods. Like, for example, pastoral communities, they depend on livestock. So if you start experiencing poor livestock body condition, it means those animals cannot even fetch prices. Then at the same time, you can also feel this on milk production from your health. Now that's the critical phase. So once also the utilization indicators now get out of the seasonal norm, then it means that the populations are not okay. Then we are heading towards emergency. Right. But when it rains, you can be in alert, and it rains. Like, if we have a very good season that is coming, we will go back to normal. Okay. It's very easy, because the indicators will stabilize.
Good. Now, I was looking at a report, the bulletin for this month, for the month of June, I think, June or July, from NDMA, and I was looking at trying to compare what happened last year during this time and what is happening this year. and just probably in terms of drought, those vegetation in different areas last year, this year it is different. And you mentioned that it could persist based on what the Kenya Meteorological Department has said. Then what is it that is causing this kind of change in terms of just probably weather conditions, if you may?
You understand there are also issues of climate change.
Okay.
When we were born, the time the seasons were starting, you remember maybe when you were young, you needed to know information from maybe a meteorological department to know when to start planting and even harvesting. But now, because of the effects of climate change, things have really changed.
Okay.
Seasons actually they are unpredictable, and that is why this is happening. So we are also looking up to moving away from depending on rainfall, so that we come up with other strategies, because some of these conditions are not stable because of the effects of climate change. So we have just to prepare for them.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So let's go back to these counties that have been affected, and we mentioned most of them as pastoralist communities. What kind of effect are they currently facing in terms of now that you've managed to assess and looked at it and you say, by the way, we are having something here is coming, so we need to step in and start acting as fast. What are some of the effects that are on the ground as we speak?
Brian, first I want to tell you that we do run a drought early warning system, and that is why you get the updates on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And within these bulletins, we also have the forecast. So we are able to look at how the situation is progressing, because drought is a slow onset. It's not rapid.
Okay.
So I want to let you know that we were already doing activities, because even when the situation is normal, we do a lot.
Okay.
This is when we want to build the resilience of our communities, work on preparedness activities. So yes, we have been doing, and we have assessed the situation, the two failed seasons. The situation is not yet very good, but we are still at alert stages of drought.
Okay.
If you look at most of the counties, in fact, I can say like all of them, except one which was pointing towards alarm phase, but still on a stable trend.
Okay.
So what I want to say that it is not an alarm at the moment. It can only be bad when the next season fails, and because the focus has pointed to that direction. We are already preparing, and we are on the ground. As I said, there are a number of counties that we have already identified the most vulnerable, and they are already being supported through cash transfers. And I insisted and pointed to you that even in your own village, there can be food, rains can perform well, but if there are those poorest populations that cannot afford food, they will still not afford, and they will need support.
Now, let's talk about this that probably you mentioned, that one could have been maybe probably getting into the alarm phase, and you say that we are already on the ground trying to mitigate that. What are some of the things that we are working on to ensure that when we get there, we are able to deal with that?
One, we are also praying that the next season performs well. Just as I said, you can be on alarm and then it rains very well and you recover. That is one. Two, there are already interventions going on the ground. For us, we work in a coordinated way. We don't work in isolation. At the national level, we have structures, the Kenya Food Security Steering Group. At the lower level, we have the County Food Security Steering Group, which brings together all the stakeholders and players on issues related to food security. So they're already on the ground. The State Department of Livestock is doing what it's supposed to do. Water, because the most affected sectors are water. Yeah. So, and livestock. So we are already on the ground doing this, and we have also identified, the way I said, the most vulnerable populations. So the interventions are ongoing. We are prepared for livestock. We have livestock feeds. We always plan for that. We have contingency plans that have already identified those particular activities. So I can say that we are prepared for this. Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about food security. As much as there is preparation, who are the players when it comes to helping these affected communities, or rather counties, in terms of just giving relief and everything? Because I don't believe it is NDMA alone, probably.
Sure. Actually, And these days we are not now into relief food. That's why you see we are doing now cash transfers.
Which will get into that
because of issues around logistics and so many things that have been happening. But I want to say that for us, we play a strong role of coordination. That is why we are able to bring on board all the players.
Okay.
So most of the interventions are done through the county food security steering groups.
We have county
we have structures at the county level.
Okay.
And actually it's chaired by the governor. For us, we are just the secretariat there.
So every county has a steering group that looks into...
Yes, it has structures. They are called county food security steering groups. All sectors, livestock, water, education, you know, all the sectors are affected by
But
the issues of food security.
Is there any sector that is mostly affected?
Like at the moment, if you look at how the situation is going, the most affected sectors are water and livestock.
Okay.
So that means that now they are very active on the ground. But now when it comes to the outcome of that, when children stop also going to school because there is no food, then education becomes affected. Remember that our analysis is based on livelihoods. If you go to the coast, they do a lot of agriculture. So that means that when the situation persists like in Kilifi, then it means the most affected are doing crop production.
Okay.
So that will be now a different strategy where now it is agriculture that is affected based on the sector.
Okay.
So it depends with the livelihoods within those particular counties. But all the players, including NGOs, government, UN agencies, they are all players and they are part of the county food security steering group. So something interesting with the Kenya and where we are doing a lot, and actually in Africa we have done so well, we do things in a coordinated way.
Okay.
If you go to other countries like Zimbabwe, Malawi, you will find this person is doing relief, this one is doing this is doing this, but for us we do it in a coordinated way, both from national and county level.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Now let's talk about that. The still on the food security, or rather food safety nets. You say we moved away from relief food and now we are cash transfer. What prompted that?
It's because of the cost. You know, when you are working around anything, you have also to look at sustainability and the cost involved, and even the energy. You can imagine you want to move food from Nairobi to Turkana. The logistics alone, it will be expensive than even the food itself. And once the food is there is in Turkana, you have also to move it to Kalokol, a remote village. Very expensive. With the cash transfers, it's just a matter of stimulating markets so that the members of the households can access markets. You give them cash and then they buy food. It becomes easy.
Is it not expensive now that when you are in a drought phase, then food becomes expensive too? So is the amount that probably we are giving them actually serving its purpose? Is it matters of sustainability? Like
it is really doing a lot, and it's based on the studies that have already been done in those areas. But remember, we don't just give out money and forget about market stimulation. We ensure that the markets are functioning well so that they are able to access food easily. And even if you talk to them, they will say that it is better. Rather than saying that you want to move food from Nairobi to Turkana or Marsabit, it's very expensive, and again, they might not even be able to get that particular food.
Talking about market stimulation, how do you ensure that is functioning properly? What do you look at?
Remember, sometimes we have already mapped. I told you we operate a drought early warning system. On a monthly basis, we monitor a number of indicators. We monitor prices of commodities. We also monitor markets and even the traders within those particular areas. So because we are now able to monitor, we are able to come up with interventions, especially if we discover the prices are going up. There are several ways this can be done, and sometimes the government gives incentives to those particular traders so that it becomes easy for them to move food from one point to another.
One household, how do we, what's the range for one household probably when it comes to cash transfer?
It depends. Households, it actually counties. Most average households consist of around 6 members of the household. And we give them monthly around 3,000 Kenya shillings. So 3,000 Kenya shillings monthly is able to sustain the 6 members of the household. And remember, these members are not just depending on this. This is just an intervention.
Oh, this is
you can imagine you are a farmer.
Okay.
And someone adds you 3,000 and say that when the situation is
too bad, you can do that.
Yeah, and those ones we just give regularly. Because we know they are vulnerable and they have just to get it. But when the situation is bad, we can scale up and look at other categories that are likely to
I want a little bit to compare when we were doing relief food and now that we're doing cash transfers, just to get to measure which one would have been better, assuming I was somebody probably in those areas that have been affected. When we were giving relief food, or rather when the government was giving relief food, what was it that was going into that?
First, I said the cost. It is very expensive when it comes to logistics.
Yeah, exactly. But now the families, what kind of products were they being given so that we ensure that it probably is going to sustain them for this period of time? And how did we use to measure that?
Actually, at that time, this is now a matter of nutrition. They could come up with the ratios, whereby they are able to identify how the particular foods will be combined.
Okay.
And in most cases, World Food Program was very keen on this. They even had those ratios where they could identify and see how to mix them so that they become important to the households. But now the challenges that we had that time was more on first, on logistics, and two, getting it to the right person. You know, I don't know if it was which year, 1990 something. We experienced there was drought up to Western.
Okay.
And some of us were in school. You could go to somewhere they are providing the relief food, and then people fight there and you miss. You come back home without anything. So you are trying to avoid such kind of scenarios.
Okay.
And it's easy to work with the cash transfers also based on technology. Because now people have smartphones. They have phones. Phones are all over, banks, M-Pesa shops. It becomes easy.
Yeah.
And it's also able to prioritize what you want.
Good.
Yeah. If you decide...
Or as a family now, you decide that this is exactly what I want.
Yeah, sure.
This is what we need.
Yeah, you know, there are those who like maize. There are those who like rice. So now it becomes easy.
But the thing is, let's go back to now ensuring that this money gets to the people that is intended to serve. What do we have in place to ensure that happens? Because in a country that most of the time you have funds for a particular project and the money gets, or rather ends up in the pockets of people who probably had different interests. How do we ensure that the money that is meant for these or other donations that people have given in terms of cash transfers or something ends in the pockets of those that it's intended for?
Actually, our program ensures that the money ends to the pockets of the right people, and we do vigorous registration. It is done early. This is where it's like we go to your village and ensure that we get the right people.
Okay.
Once we get the right people, we register them. Once they are registered, they are given a card that enables them to access the funds. So once the money is ready, they also receive a message, notifies them that there's something for them. They just go and get, and they have agents around them.
Good.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question, which is just around the same. In terms of finding the right people, what are we using to measure and identify that this family is the right family to be, or rather this is the right house to actually consider when it comes to when we get to a point where we are facing drought, we have you on our list of the people that are likely to get assistance from the government?
Yeah, registration is a very comprehensive process, and actually, Brian, it requires like its own day and interviews. Very comprehensive, the process of identifying the beneficiaries, and we look at so many things. Remember, in Kenya we have statistics. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics has been doing the survey the other day. It was able to identify the categories of people who are poor, those who are very poor, those who are in the medium category. But again, that alone is not enough. You also need local leaders. Like if we go to your own village and ask your local chief, get for me the poorest person, he will get it for you.
So we are using
so we use statistics. We use statistics from the mandated departments, and we also validate using the local leaders so that we ensure we get the right people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's something I wanted to mention about, or rather ask about the county governments. What's their, because we NDMAs from the national government, right? Now we are trickling down to the county government. What kind of response do we get from the county government in terms of dealing with these kind of issues, especially drought in these 12 counties? What has been the response so far? Yeah,
the county government is very supportive. And remember...
You're just not saying that for the sake, right?
Yeah, and remember, according to the constitution, 2% of their budget is supposed to support issues related to various disasters.
Okay. Does that happen?
And yes, because they are chairing our county food security steering groups.
Okay.
They are very active and they are supporting some of the activities we are doing. Actually, they take lead. So, and that is why I said that if you look at the previous years, you can imagine how response was like. You could see just animals dying, people dying, and things are being done in a coordinated way. You find that so and so is raising funds to go and do response.
Yeah.
So the county government have taken leadership at the county level, and we are really working with them well through the Council of Governors. They have done so well, and they are part of our structures within the country.
You mentioned about so and so doing, probably raising funds to go, and I think that happened sometime back when there was something like Okoa Kenya or something like that. So that doesn't happen anymore. We are not supposed to be doing that?
Yes, because we work in a coordinated way.
So when somebody wants to come out and help the people in these 12 countries that are being affected, what channels do they have to go through?
Yeah, at national level we have structures. The Kenya Food Security Meeting that brings stakeholders together. At the county level we have County Food Security Steering Group. So if you want to donate at county level, you will use those structures so that you go and declare what you have. They look at the contingency plans and see where you can fit. If you are at national level, Brian, you want to do something, you have some few millions. Come, you join the Kenya Food Security Meeting where you get the players, and then we can have that discussion on how to go about it.
So when I have probably I want to start an initiative, I want to help the people at the county level, I can't go and start my own campaign in terms of raising funds?
Yeah, you will be doing it in a coordinated way because we already have structures in place. You just need to go through the structures and it becomes easy.
So what do I face, or rather what are the consequences if at all I don't consider the structures that have been put in place and just go as somebody who is interested in helping the people?
You might not cause consequences, but maybe you'll be inflicting some issues on human rights.
Okay.
Because you can imagine if you just have your own donations, run to a place where it is not clear, even for you. Okay. Because we do targeting, we have assessed the areas in every county. We know the severity of every sublocation, every ward. If you go through the proper structures, we will be able to tell you, if you go to Turkana, please take care of this particular ward, this particular sublocation. Okay. Otherwise, you may end up pushing your donation to the wrong category, wrong team. So we already have structures in place, and we ask those who have resources they want to support to come, but they have to go through the proper structure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I think at that point we'll be taking a short break. Remember, this is Counties in Focus. The hashtag is Counties in Focus. You can get in touch with us on our social media handles at Amoy Brian on Twitter, at Lookup TV. The hashtag is Counties in Focus. Let's take that short break. We'll be back and look at, yes, in terms of how do we now deal with the situation that is currently in when it comes to water.
Like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Lookup TV movement now.
Welcome to the Natural Juicing Center. We are a unique organization that seeks to provide the community with an alternative healthcare option. We specialize in the use of a natural holistic system that focuses on building health through cleansing and nourishing of the body. We utilize a variety of natural health promoting methods in our services, which include juicing therapy, hydrotherapy, colon cleansing, massage therapy, and a comprehensive cleansing service, among others. Our juices are freshly made and tailored to each and every client's individual needs after evaluation by our team through our free consultation service. You can now book for any service or order for food supplements on our website www.naturaljuicingcenter.co.ke. You can also visit our center in Kahawa Sukari, house number 1334, Kahawa Sukari Avenue. Natural Juicing Center. Your health is your wealth.
Paidika Real Estate brings to you Soteria Gardens, Matu, for as little as 75,000 Kenya shillings on cash payment, 99,000 for installments with 40,000 Kenya shillings deposit and balance in 5 months. For more information, visit our office at Thika Town, Grace House, 3rd floor. Feel free to call us on 0724 256 626 or 0710 265 687. Like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Lookup TV movement now.
Now, thank you for staying with us here on Lookup TV, Counties in Focus. We continue with this discussion. We are looking at the drought situation in the country. 12 counties so far have been affected, and 2.1 million people reported to be affected by drought. To discuss this, I have in studio Nelson Mutanda, who is the Deputy Director, Drought Information at the National Drought Management Authority. Before we went for a break, we were talking about this situation and just how to ensure that you mentioned something about coordination. I want to move to something different. Not all counties have livestock, right? Now, when these counties that have livestock are currently facing drought, and people are being advised that if you continue keeping them, they are going to die, you're going to run a loss. How do we ensure that as much as we are urging them and this their livestock, they don't probably suffer a much bigger loss?
Okay. Brian, first I want to correct you that all our counties, they have livestock.
All of them?
No, and I know even you always wish to have livestock, even me. Even if it is just 1 or 2. So livestock is a very, very important asset for all of us, and most of them have, but there are counties that have very few.
Yeah,
others
exactly.
have a lot. I said that as we try to address the issues of building the resilience of our communities, we are looking at a number of things. I mentioned one, issue of insecurity.
Okay.
One, issue of infrastructure, and another, human capital.
Okay.
When we talk about human capital, we are talking about even education. If you are educated and you see drought has come but you are not able to sustain animal, basically you will do what?
You sell it.
You sell. So that is where we are working hard to ensure that our communities, particularly in arid and semi-arid areas, they are educated so that it becomes easy to sensitize them. For us, what we can do is to sensitize them, advise them. If you look at our drought phases, normal, alert, alarm, emergency, each phase has specific activities that we do. Like now for off-take, when we are at a alarm stage of drought or emergency, that's when we do a lot of livestock off-take.
Okay.
But we usually advise them to sell these animals earlier. Those who will be able to understand easily, they will be able to sell. We also have structures as a government where we are able now to buy from them.
Okay.
There's some time we were buying and even leaving those animals to them to eat so that they also build in terms of nutrition.
Okay.
They become strong.
Okay.
So we always do it, but more important, we are looking up to sensitization. You see, the only way we can solve these issues is by all of us being players.
Okay.
And if our communities can understand, so that when the situation is very bad, it becomes easy for them to give out, because we always sensitize them, dissemination of the early warning information, it will be effective. So I want to say that we we really sensitize them so that the time we reach some phases of drought and things are bad, then they can always...
In the process of sensitization, I'm assuming you've been on the ground and talked to them. Some people do argue that these counties, most of the counties or rather areas that get to be affected by drought, and we say they don't have food, but yet they keep animals that keep on dying, most probably dropping dead on a daily basis. Why not then probably transform that? Instead of having them die, they make them that to food.
They convert to food. And that is what exactly I mentioned, that it reached a point where the government could buy and then they convert it to food early. But we don't want to go to such kind of scenarios. And that's why I said that we are now prepared. We would wish that if it is off-take, it's done at the right time. And we are doing a lot of sensitization, and we are also prepared. We usually have budgets. And in our contingency plans, we have planned for that. When we reach such levels, we always ensure that we help farmers get those animals. And also during recovery, we buy for them. We support them.
Now, let's talk about the issue of water, because when we talk about drought, that's one thing that comes, is lack of water. When we are dealing with this issue every month, or rather probably this year, then probably after 2 years again, we are dealing with that, and we give suggestions, that recommendations, we should have boreholes probably for that particular, to deal with that situation when it arises the next time. What happens that these recommendations don't get to be actually implemented?
Brian, I want to tell you that the government has been working on these recommendations. And even if you look at the year start from 2011, look at how response looked like. We had a drought in 2011. Look at 2017. And even now, you'll see that we have done a lot in terms of water sector. The State Department of Water has really done a lot. I know we are having challenges, global of resources, but they have really tried. If you go to most of the counties, you'll find that they are always strategic boreholes. Which means that it is not easy for them to dry up. And they have tried. So we can say that as we move on and also build on the pillars that we are trying to work around, we'll be able to solve this problem. So the government is really doing a lot. In the past, you could hear of water tracking each and every day, but these days it only happens occasionally. So the government has done a lot. The State Department of Water has been working on the recommendation, and without water, life is not easy even for all of us. So,
and that's what I think we need to get into that. But before, let me just bring this one in. You mentioned about resources, and somebody will argue, this is the government. How do you lack resources? You are not meant to lack resources, the government, especially when every now and then when something happens or a disaster strikes, you are the people, or rather it is the institution that you are looking up to actually deal with that. So how does the lack of resources come about in government?
Brand resources are never enough. And in most even developed countries, they are still struggling. But what we can appreciate is that the government has been able to do a lot. Look at infrastructure now. I don't know if you have gone to Marsabit.
No, I haven't been there.
The roads are very good. It is easy now to move food from Isiolo to Marsabit without any problem. And this is how we are looking at food security. You can imagine if we are able to open up fully Samburu, we open up other counties, ASAL counties. It will be easy even to move food from the high potential areas to those particular areas. So the government is already doing something. It's only that this cannot happen at once. It is a process. Just the way I indicated that most of the issues were around marginalization. So the government is already on track. We are doing something, and we believe that in the next few years we will be there. Yeah, sure.
So that means then back to water. If I still believe that we are the access to water for these households, if we had that, then probably we will not be having a lot of issues when it comes to drought, because during your sensitization, or rather when you're sensitizing people from these particular counties to take on selling their livestock or something like that, and the recovery process on just trying to mitigate this so that the next time it doesn't get to this point, and you say we have boreholes, then do we also encourage them to probably consider having a little bit of farming or here and there, so that if there's frequent supply of water, then I think that will be something that is actually manageable.
Yeah, right, Brian. You see, we also receive rain sometimes. And that's why I said that human capital is a key pillar. Someone will ask you, Brian, in your home, do you have a water tank to store some water?
Yeah.
These are the questions we also discuss and ask them. And that's why we are doing a lot of sensitization. These issues cannot be addressed by the government alone. It starts with all of us, the community. And that is how we work around the issues of disaster risk reduction. So what we are saying, we are also sensitizing the communities. Like we came from 2 good seasons. What did we do in terms of further production? So we are trying to work with the community. When it comes to water harvesting, you can move around schools and you realize that there are very few water tanks. As we put them in schools, we also educate children at home to tell their parents, let's have a small water tank. So you are right, and that's why I said that we have some pillars we are trying to build on. And once we are done with human capital, we are done with infrastructure, and we are done with issues of insecurity, then I want to assure you that we will be there.
Yeah. Talking about the issue of insecurity, so this, in terms of having communities build a little bit of peace dialogues and resource use agreement, do we get to a point where probably there is that lack of sharing resources among communities?
Yeah, you know, it is common even among neighbors to agree and sometimes disagree, and this happens, but when there's pressure on resources, now the issue of insecurity comes up. So as we work around the issues of ensuring that the communities are stable, we are trying to talk to them so that they live harmoniously. Whatever little is there, they are able to share.
Okay.
And this is a problem not only in Asali counties, it's everywhere. In most cases, you will realize that when neighbors are somewhere and they are sharing something, after a few days, they have started issues. So that's why we are doing a lot of dialogues and other things so that people understand that if we are going to use this ground as our grazing zone, how do we work together? How do we operate together? Yeah, sure.
So let's look. You mentioned sharing of resources. What are some of these resources that probably have been bringing about those kind of altercation between communities and bringing about insecurity in these particular communities, making the government unable to actually probably, if it is moving relief or just helping them in terms of drought situations?
Yeah, in most cases, these are issues of around the grazing zones. As you know, like in northern Kenya, there are no boundaries.
So that is mainly in northern Kenya.
Yeah, and then of course the issue of water. You can imagine we have a strategic borehole in Meru or in Isiolo. And then the Meru North, their borehole is not maybe sustaining all of them, and they move to another borehole. If they don't operate well, then it becomes a problem. But we have done a lot through these issues of dialogue, ensuring that communities work together for harmonious society.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the health in these particular counties and communities that are being affected by drought. What is it that we are doing in terms of dealing with that, in just probably making sure that nutrition, like you mentioned, before we used to show what kind of food we are going to be giving them, because this will also help build their immunity in this way, in that, in this particular way or the other. Now we are giving them cash transfer. How do we measure that it is not going to be a health issue? Yeah,
cash transfer is not standalone. There are packages around it, including sensitization, including advising them, and also following up to find out how they spend them. And we want to find out whether you took alcohol or you took food. We want also to know.
So what if somebody took alcohol? What exactly are you going to do about that?
Yeah, we are able now to find better strategies of reaching those particular households so that we can identify the issues. We also have some organizations that help us also check on how things are happening within the societies. But I want to say that the issue of nutrition is very complex because sometimes it's not directly related to food insecurity. Sometimes it's just disease and other factors. But the Ministry of Health has done a lot. It is very strong and is working closely with the communities to ensure that people are healthy. And through our drought early warning system, we also monitor the malnutrition. So we are really doing well in that particular sector, and the ministry itself has done so well.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about monitoring. Some of the things you monitor, you monitor malnutrition and all that. Bring me up to date with what are some of the issues that you look at when you're monitoring whether this is going to be an issue come next month or 2 months from now or something?
Yeah, perfect. If you look at the indicators we monitor, they are sector-based. And for example, when it comes to malnutrition, for us, we run a surveillance system. It's like a smoke detector, whereby when someone smokes here, it detects.
Okay.
And once it has detected, someone will come to find out what is happening. So we do run an early warning system, and we also have rapid surveys to confirm the situation on the ground.
Okay.
So the system is very effective. So we have a number of indicators we are monitoring sector by sector. Like in livestock, I'll be able to tell you how the body condition in every sub-location or ward within those counties looking like. If it's issues of milk production, prices, I'll be able to tell you how they are, like maize, beans, and other commodities, so that we can see how are the terms of trade. Because for them, what they do, they will sell goods, sheep to buy food. How is the exchange? So we are able to look at all these things and combine and come up with a combination that is able to tell us whether this particular area is normal, things are okay, alert, or alarm, or emergency. And also at the end of the season, now that the long rains has ended, we went to assess now the impact, where we now look at so many indicators. And then we come up, we are able to identify the most vulnerable, those that require immediate food assistance. We also look at sectors and see which particular interventions are required. So it becomes easy. And I want to tell you that the strength we have in this country, I have been to so many countries. In Africa, most countries are now coming to learn on how we are managing the issues related to drought.
So we are the SI unit. Are we the are we the SI unit when it comes to drought management?
Yeah, sure. So, many countries are coming to learn how we are doing it. Yeah, exactly. So we are on the way. We might not be there today. Just the way I said that issue of infrastructure you cannot sort out in a day. Okay. Human capital, even in the village, your own village, you will not find everyone educated there. And maybe people who are not very educated, you will have to struggle to explain to them some issues. Like, for example, if I have animals and I believe God will help them, and you come and tell me that sell them, I'll tell you, no, I'm waiting for God to help me. So issues of human capital, issues of infrastructure, issues of insecurity, some of those underlying factors are the ones we are trying to work around as we build the resilience of the community. Okay.
Now that we are the SI unit, when other countries come here to learn or just find out exactly what you're doing when it comes to drought management, what do we tell them? What are they not doing right that we are doing right?
Yeah, there are so many things that we are doing right. First is coordination. I said that when you go to most of the countries, when they are hit, they don't know even who is supposed to do what.
Oh, so that is when you say about coordination, is like a planned way in which information is going to be disseminated or something?
Whether it is information, whether it is response, it is done in a coordinated way. Okay. Let me give you an example. If you go to your community, people are suffering, you give them relief food and go. Then another person comes again to the same community after 2 hours, gives them. Another one comes again after 3 hours, gives them. You will find that food in the market. They are now selling it. But if you do it in a coordinated way, you will say that we are working together. We know what our people are going through. So each and every person will follow this plan. If we develop a continuous plan, it is developed by one unit. So if another person comes, we tell him, just pass through this structure, go and find out within the plan, what are you able to support? So everything is done in a coordinated way. Whether it is issue of information sharing, whether it is issue of response, it is done through proper structures. Most countries don't have that. So they are learning on how to do that. Yeah. And remember, many years ago, you could hear this drought and then you hear maybe it's WFP that is supporting this. The next day it is another organization. The other day you hear it's Red Cross. The other day you hear special programs. These days, you will hear of county food security steering groups.
Okay.
They have to go through those structures, and even at national level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so let's come back to this. Now, you mentioned something like coordination, which now when you were talking about probably somebody coming and helping a community, let's remember that there was a time when things that were not meant for sale were actually being found in the market. So how did we come about having county steering groups, the ones that you mentioned in terms of dealing with these particular issues? What informed us having these ones?
I want to tell you that as much as we have structure, there are some few individuals who might defy. Like, for example, you have your money and you have your own different interest, and you take advantage of the situation and you refuse to follow through the structures. So at the moment it becomes difficult. Like, you're running into a community and you start giving out food, we might not be in control of that, and we know it was happening.
Okay.
But where we were using our own plan through our structures, we did it so well, and actually that didn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we wind up, what are we looking at in future? Probably in the next phase of this one, when you give a bulletin, probably this month or next month, are we looking at something better, or are we looking at worse? Because right now we are not at the worst yet, yeah?
Yeah, Brian, the next season starts in October. That is October, November, December. We are now in August, right? So you don't expect anything in September, because we will not, the season will not have started. But by October, it will determine so many things. So in September, even from the bulletin, the situation is likely to worsen. But we expect that if the rains come early and they perform well in October, counties will go back to recovery. But based on the forecast, if it goes that way, then it means now the situation will be different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now we are looking at a bad situation, assuming the rains don't...
Yeah, sure. If this next season rains delay, then the situation will be bad. But at the moment, we can say we are just on alert. And if the rains come, we'll be back to normal.
Okay. Yeah. So right now we are on alert. It's not a bad situation. But the way we are going, this trajectory, we are hoping for the best, but we are expecting the worst.
Yes, and we are prepared.
Okay.
Yeah, we have updated our contingency plans, and we are already doing so many things. If it is procurement of livestock feeds, in preparation for that.
Oh.
Yeah, sure.
Oh. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making time for have this discussion. I really do appreciate.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Yeah. Now that does it for this show here on Counties in Focus. We were looking at drought mitigation measures here in the country. 12 counties are reported to be facing drought. My name is Brian Amwai. I am glad that we had this discussion. Have yourselves a lovely night.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you.